welcome back. And we're moving into our first segment for today as we discuss freedom of the press in Belize. We have with us attorney at law, Dickie Bradley. Good morning and welcome.
It's a good morning.
That's right. Quite a lot to talk about. And of course, this morning, as I had mentioned earlier in the show, before all the pageant controversy, a lot of people were very in tune with the mistreatment of Marisol Amaya at the Tower Hill Bridge last week. And it was a very important issue, I think, for us to discuss further and in a broader sense as to what is allowed for when it comes to the freedom of the press in this country. Now, Dickie, people know you as a part of the media as well. You were a talk show host, and you have been very vocal on many issues. So let me just start off by getting your reaction when you saw what took place on Tower Hill Bridge.
I think I said when you saw what took place at the stage for the Queen.
Nah, we're moving past that. Back to big issues.
Let me make an observation on that matter. Want to discuss that?
Already?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so let's not tread over the same grounds, but let me make this point here. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, let me say that there is a line in one of the patriotic songs that the 10th day of September when history was made, oh Belize, our home, sweet home, because we have two queens of the bays, or two queens of the bay. The Zenara Moya is no fool. That wardrobe malfunction that occurred, I wanted to say it's my understanding, and I stand corrected, that she gave an interview to one of the local media. She was not grabbed and lifted up like Marisol, but her interview needs some attention. She's saying, her claim is that the minister who is like the head of the celebrations committee, not the head of the Queen of the Bay committee, the minister either called for a meeting or was to attend a meeting at 4:30 one evening on the matter. He came late, according to her. According to her allegation, he appeared to be drunk. According to her allegation, she's saying that when they decided to go and get the tally marks to show what the judges had arrived at, word came to them that he had called up some of the judges and made a decision as to who would be the queen. Now, the two young ladies, they are very talented and very beautiful. And everybody is with the queen from Dangriga. And that is the end of that particular story. But a man who wants to be the prime minister of the country have to be very careful that those kind of vibes come out. That first of all, he don't got no business in that.
Well, he is the head of the September Celebrations Committee. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then secondly, those are only allegations made by Ms. Moya at this point. So, but Dickie, we really are pressed for time.
Let's go, yes.
So I want to get into freedom of the press at this point. And again, I go back to it. We saw, and we have the footage, it'll probably be up in a bit, of a reporter for Creme Radio, Marisol Amaya, being dragged off the Tower Hill Bridge, manhandled, some would say.
Isani was there.
Isani was there. Of course, that's how we're able to have the footage that we're seeing. And I want to ask you, as somebody who once worked in the press and with your legal perspective, what are your thoughts when you saw what took place there?
Well, I don't know if your viewers are actually seeing the footage, but the issue is this, that the Constitution of Belize, which follows a long line of binding both regional and international treaties and agreements to which Belize belong, this issue of journalists, media workers, they used to use the word press because back in those days there was only the print media. We didn't get into technology as yet. But let's start off with the mighty United States of America, which has perhaps the best constitution in the world in terms of the words are clear, straightforward, and simple, and not as confusing as some others. The United States in 1789 brought forward their constitution, having fought with the British and kicked the British out of their lives. They used the words, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, or prohibiting free exercise of religion, or abridging the freedom of speech, or abridging the free press. 1798 revolutionary constitution seeks to protect the media. Imagine how far that goes. If you jump to 1948 after the Second World War, when the British as an empire collapsed and America started to emerge, the United Nations came up with the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights. The Declaration on Human Rights, which is celebrated every 10th of December 1948 originally, says that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference. And that's the word I want to emphasize, without interference, and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media, regardless of frontiers. Why the without interference? Jamaica is one of the first countries, along with Trinidad, to get independence in our region. And they have almost the same thing like Belize, except that we have a far more advanced constitution than theirs. They say in their constitution, no person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression. The freedom includes the freedom to hold opinions, to receive and to impart ideas and information without interference, and freedom from interference with the correspondence and other means of communication. Trinidad, around the same time like Jamaica 1962, they go a little further and say, and they use the words, the recognition and protection of the fundamental human rights and freedoms, and they say that it is recognized and declared that in Trinidad and Tobago there have existed and shall continue to exist the freedom of thought and expression and freedom of the press. And then finally we come to the best constitution in the region, and that is simply because we did not get our constitution until 1981, so we learned a lot from the failures and the loopholes and the problems of other constitutions. Listen to the baddest constitution in the region, without any exception. This is section 12 of the Constitution of Belize, which anybody with access to the internet can Google the Belize Constitution and find
it's on the Belize Law website.
Thank you for telling your viewers that. All right, let's start. Without your own consent, meaning you could consent to lose your freedom of expression. Once you go be a public officer, you don't have the right to express yourself on anything. If you are working at a lab and somebody come in for doing an AIDS test, you can't go blab that out. You can't go claim I have the freedom to talk out things. You don't go like that. But other than that, a person shall not be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression. A person shall not be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression, which includes freedom to hold opinions without interference, freedom to receive ideas and information without interference, freedom to receive ideas and information, which is what Marisol was doing. She has the constitutional right to go and receive ideas and information without interference, freedom to communicate ideas and information without interference. Every journalist, every citizen of the country have a right to not only receive but to communicate it without interference. And it says in our case, whether the communication is to the public generally or to any person or any class of persons. And then it also says, like some others, and freedom from interference with your correspondence. You know, the police got this habit, I want whole man take their phone and got their phone 3, 4, 5 weeks, tell you then they go through it. And no absolute right to do any such thing. So here you have a well-known journalist. She was in the news because she was assaulted in no other place than the House of Representatives at a special Senate meeting. So she's not nobody don't know who that is young lady and what. Not she's known. The person being shown on your screen who is, to use the word being used, who is being manhandling her is an inspector of police. He's like the head of that group of officers who are out there, some special task force or some such thing. He no business to grab nobody. He business to give instructions to say that person is obstructing, that other one is trying to get into the vehicle to drive. You know, if they grab one woman from back and pick her up, and then either you can't back on or decide for whatever reason, let her go and she falls to the pavement. That is absolutely a no-no. Yeah. So then, before I lose my train of thought, the media, including both of you and the organization you represent, and Jules Vasquez and Roland Parks and Glenn Tillett and all the many journalists in Belize, need to call a meeting and ask Marisol, what is your intention? Because an assault on a journalist is an assault on all journalists.
All journalists, yes.
The police are either unaware, because we have been seeing and hearing about several officers posting up things and said, good for her and I hope he learn a lesson, and call Marisol all kind of names and so. The police are either unaware, which says that they are poorly being trained in this country, or they just continue on their way to decide, I could grab people's phone, I could grab their camera, I could do what I want. Yeah. You can't film me, you can't. You're a public officer out there, you're a public official. Whatever you're doing, whether it's right or wrong, you can't prevent journalists or even a citizen. And in fact, the commissioner of police had said that publicly. Police have no right to go to try to stop you from filming. Yeah. So what has happened is, in terms of the criminal law, Marisol has been assaulted. An assault and battery has been committed on her. I understand that she has gone and a doctor has classified that she has been harmed. And so she can, in fact, bring those charges under the criminal law. But the bigger issue, which is important for a country which is celebrating 36 years of independence, is that law enforcement officials need to know what is the law and what are the bounds and perimeters for them. You cannot, what happened out there, that a judge needs to send a strong message to the security forces.
Yeah. Now, and I think, you know, one of the things that is important to come out is looking at the role of the media in a situation like this. We are the eyes and the ears of the general public. And there was a very serious scenario taking place at the Tower Hill Bridge, which all reporters there, including yourself, Isani, and cameramen, because I love that you say media workers, because our cameramen are often victimized as well. But of course, we can't see it on camera because they're the ones holding them. So intercepting the work of a media worker in so many ways can be seen as trying to circumvent the process of having the public know the truth. And I think that is one of the most important things that we don't speak about enough. When a police officer, and we've filed complaints here from Channel 5 before, approaches a cameraman, takes their camera or their chip and deletes photos or videos that are on their property, we only came to start to see these incidents and now learn that we must report them if we want to see something done about them. And so I'm glad that Marisol decided to press charges. That is her intention at this point, because you're right, we do have to make a statement. Now, many people on the outside will say, well, you shouldn't be there, you shouldn't be in the front lines, you are a part of the riot if you're up in front as well. What do you say to that? No,
factually and legally that is wrong. Just like how the police have a right and a duty to be there, the same thing applies to journalists. In fact, the section I'm reading, section 12 of the Constitution, is basically saying that you can't be hindered in your constitutionally guaranteed right to go and receive information. You shall not be hindered in your constitutionally guaranteed right to go and communicate that. You all are doing it at your own risk. If they fire tear gas in a crowd of persons and you are there, you are subject to get your eyes and your face and your skin burned up with tear gas. That is a personal decision that you take. You are not taking part in the riot. if a riot is taking part. You're not taking part in any kind of illegal activity. What you're trying to do is to try and get as much facts as you can, which in today's world include this, I was going to use some ubiquitous or some word like that, but this instrument where your own phone is also a camera and a recorder.
So, and a transmitter.
And a transmitter as well, so that how the fact that you are there is not in any way saying, well, you're a part of what is taking place. So that kind of approach towards it is absolutely wrong and needs to be clarified to the minds of our people. Our people must know that just as happened in the National Assembly, which is our country's parliament, where journalists are covering matters. Remember when Julius Espat was being hauled out? It was so important that people see what is actually going on. We would not see that if there were no journalists on the spot.
And once again, media worker Jules Vasquez was dragged out of the House of Representatives.
Yes, look how shameful that was.
And he made the decision to stay because he knew his rights as a journalist and that he was entitled to be there to document what was taking place.
Yeah, that is very, very important for us as a young society and a young democracy.
If I can briefly share as well, when I look at this situation that has unfolded on the Tower Hill Bridge, when I look at the situation that had unfolded in the House of Representatives in August last year, I want to think that the responsibility falls on both the reporters and cameramen out there as well as the police officers or any other member of the security forces that is on duty at the time, so to speak. The reason being, I believe that while it is okay to be tenacious and to want to be on the front line of everything, there should also be some measure of discretion exercised by the reporter. You can't be that intrepid to where you get in the way of things. So that perhaps if you're either being asked to step back a bit or to clear the area altogether, then while the job is important and we're only there to do our job, we need to be mindful of the fact that perhaps we're getting in the way of the officers being able to quell a situation or contain it.
But it's a separate issue than the one Marlene is just raising, in the sense that clearly, whatever issue it was, remember that the local journalists and the Facebook media crew had caught police officers at San Pedro one night overdoing, to put it mildly. The situation is that if you're there, like that incident where they were firing shots and so on, or you're at Tower Hill, or there is some tangle between some criminal element or elements and the police. The police, if they are of the view that you are obstructing them or you are hampering them or you're interfering with them doing their work, can say to you, whether you're a journalist or not, you need to step back, you need to go to the side of the road. Nothing is wrong with that. Actually, let me just make this observation, which has been made already, that the police officers, and there are many good police officers, there are far more good police officers than there are rogue police officers in the force. The police officers came across out there as very unprofessional, poorly organized, because they could easily have drawn a line, make a line and said nobody, including journalists, are to cross the line. They could either have cleared the road on the two sides and keep everybody on the side of the road. Who want to disobey the police officers can then be detained or even arrested and charged for whatever charge they want to bring, obstructing them and so on. That is a different matter. Clearly, you will have some journalists who are more braver than others or who are more aggressive than others, and when they are up in the police, then face and so on. Clearly, the police have a duty to tell you back off, haul back, move to the side. But how do you explain an interview is going on? A senior officer going to go grab one lady from backhand? How you explain that?
A male officer.
Sorry?
A male officer.
Grabs a
And a male officer.
Because the protocol is that a female officer should handle a female
sir, grab the girl from.
And I hear the point that Isani is making, but for me, if there is a journalist who is obstructing justice, there is a charge for that. Marisol has not been charged for obstructing justice.
Yet.
She was executing her duties as a journalist there. And, you know, Belize has enjoyed a very good ranking, fairly good, I should say, in the International Freedom of the Press ranking. We have been relatively a peaceful country. There are other parts of the world that journalists...
We are peaceful. It's not relative.
Well, I wouldn't consider this peaceful, and if the country can be more
aberration.
peaceful than this, I would prefer that.
That's an aberration.
But I will say this much. There are other parts of the world that journalists are abducted, their family goes missing, their family members are killed, they're threatened, they must leave they must abscond the country in order to be able to be safe. So there is a risk involved that I think oftentimes in this country we have not necessarily had to execute. And this is perhaps as far as it goes in terms of how brave one must be in keeping your stance in being able to ensure that the public sees the truth as to what is taking place.
Which is why it is so important, doubly important, that the media take a position and even encourage Marisol. It is her call to make an application to the Supreme Court of the country that her constitutional right under Section 12 has been violated, so that the judges can clear up this matter, because the police don't handle that correctly, neither out there nor afterwards.
Yeah.
This is one simple thing. We have a bad habit that believes because we are so immature and unprofessional. It is clear that the police made a serious mistake or deliberately went and interfered with Marisol. That is clear, one or the other. Whichever way it is, I find it's far more worse if they deliberately singled her out for that kind of treatment, because bear in mind that camera shots also show and eyewitnesses support that while Marisol was on the ground, the street,
another officer,
one officer fired one whoop at her.
That somebody else
Fortunately,
blocked.
it was blocked.
Yes,
by
one other
colleague.
journalist, one person put out their hand and get one whop sake of that. So, first of all, why the police they fire whop at people in a situation like that? They fire whop. You got groups of officers, they're tangling with groups of citizens. They're scattered all over the place. Everybody, they tug and war, everybody, they holler at one another. Look at the whole thing is so... I mean, the police forces really need to be retrained, and then they go and have this press conference, which makes a fraud of the whole thing, because all they have to do is be man enough.
And admit it and own it.
And say, from what we have seen, but we are carrying out an investigation, from what we have seen, we would offer and we are offering an apology to Ms. Marisol. What is the explanation? They can grab she like that. What's the explanation?
This is what I found to be most interesting coming out of the press conference itself that morning, is because while the Minister of State and while the acting compol and even the Assistant Commissioner, who is the Operations Commander, extended an apology to the media, they never really extended a personal apology to Marisol Amaya, who is the person here who was directly assaulted. They stopped short of saying, you know what, Marisol, we know we erred in that decision to deal with the situation the way we did on the bridge, which resulted in you being manhandled by fellow officers. There was never that personal apology to her. And I think that is where my bone of contention comes about, because while as a member of the broader media, I'm able to accept that apology, it wasn't sincere, in my opinion, because it was never directed to the person who was directly impacted by those actions, right? I think another thing that I want to mention here, insofar as being a member of the media and being able to enjoy certain freedoms as a reporter in this country, we need to understand, and this is for other young people or other practitioners who want to remain an active part of the media and be able to understand what the parameters are, in a sense. One of the foundations of being a reporter in any medium, TV, radio, in press, what have you, is that you need to be careful that you're only telling the story and not becoming the story. Right? And I'm not saying that this was deliberate in the sense that, Marisol set
No,
out
she's not
to,
like
to
that.
be that.
That's
She's not that type
Yeah,
of
that's not
person.
apply.
And I'm saying though that there may be other persons who are looking at this and perhaps they walk away with the impression that, okay, to be an intrepid reporter, this is what I would need to do.
What is intrepid?
As in brave and fearless and you know, tenacious and aggressive and all those other adjectives that describe what we would see to be an ideal reporter. I'm just saying that one needs to be cautious as that's not what they're taking away. This is an unfortunate incident. Altogether, this is completely
No, but you know
unfortunate.
Charles Dickens wrote a book called A Tale of Two Cities. We have,
Which we're
we have two
familiar
queens, but
with.
we also have two cities. Being that on the south side of Belize City primarily, it is a spread out district in San Pedro, in Independence Village, where police routinely abuse people both inside the police station. They have killed people in the detention cells in the country. They've shocked them with electric things. They have done all those things. Let me hurry holla that the vast majority of police officers are professional, decent people. But in any organization, you have those who they abuse their position. But let it be said that kind of behavior is a regular behavior in the streets of Belize City by police officers. You all are journalists and you know the amount of complaints you get, so much so that it's not even news then unless there is somebody who insists on coming personally and tell you, look how I do and look how I do and so on and so forth. It's almost as if, and a lot of people believe that it is so, that people high up in Belmopan have told the police officers to go and beat them. The only way to control them and to use violence upon them. That is why elements of, the police are split into many parts. There is this one they call some special patrol thing.
unit.
There is this next one. All of them, they out there like the Israeli soldiers, they whop up Palestinians, and all of them, they out there, they beat people, they detain them, they drag them at station, and all them foolishness they go on. That is a regular thing. The police have been like almost.
But we have factual information. We have information coming out from the Ombudsman's report about how many allegations are made of police brutality.
The biggest one, no? The biggest among our reports concerns the police,
and those are the only ones that make it to the Ombudsman.
Right, because a lot of people are going through that because they don't know that nothing comes out of it. And as you know, nothing comes out of the Ombudsman's report every year. They just send up one thing. The committee name bother say nothing. The committee of elected representatives and bother well, it's got nothing to say about that. So the point is, and I'm glad that you all have decided to start this week in the month that we are celebrating our independence and has a constitution that protects our rights, and so that the police can't handle journalists like that. And that, in fact, you all as journalists, an attack on Marisol is attack against you. No.
Agreed.
You could have take one whopping at your head, Then people don't care, they don't really care, because they are not accountable. I want to pay tribute to Simeon Sampson, who has been an attorney from when I was in probably primary school or so. Simeon Sampson, who was the president of the Human Rights Commission of this country, very active, very outspoken person, had said many years ago that the police in Belize are becoming a law unto themselves. That is a very serious matter. A police who thinks he can take you into a cell in whichever village or area and beat you up is a man with a problem. Chances are he's beating up his wife and beating up his woman. There are people like that in the society. They are sadists and they are sick. Others might not, because of the poor training they are getting, they don't even know that some of what they're doing is illegal and they can be charged for it. So that, I don't want to make too much comment about that. I want to say the law is that journalists are protected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Specifically protected in many ways. The fact that we are a member of the United Nations and subscribe to the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights, which protects journalists in the sense that anybody receiving ideas and opinions and information and communicating it, they are protected. Do you know, and I know both of you know this, but your viewers, some of the young ones, they wouldn't know it. Woodward and Bernstein, two journalists, I think, with the Washington Post in the 1970s, because of their persistent journalism and digging up the facts, going behind, trying to find out. In this case, it's hard because you all have nobody to go to and say, somebody give instructions for target Marisol. In those two persons' case, they brought down Richard Nixon, the President of the United States of America.
The Watergate.
That is
scandal.
correct. Just journalism all over the world. I was going to say Marisol. So, Marlene, journalists are imprisoned just because they are journalists.
Yes.
Journalists are shot. The big argument in the Gulf states between Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and others against Qatar. You know one of the main things that they're saying? Then they have closed all diplomatic things, they stop make plane flight and stop sending any imports into Qatar. And so you know what they're calling for? They want Qatar to shut down Al Jazeera. That is one of their main complaints.
Yeah.
One dictatorship like
Because
Egypt.
you don't want information to
Right.
go beyond,
Right.
even beyond the borders.
The borders, you want next nation closed down for them.
And I'm glad you said that. While we are not at that point, I will clearly say that.
Well, I will tell you
say this
something.
much. Persistence is important. And we know that in this industry because you will very easily be told, as we're seeing in a current case, you never ask that question. We don't have to ask that. We don't have to answer that. That's political mischief. If journalists stop there, what happens?
No
People get
information, no
away
information.
with
They should.
crimes that the wider public is never aware of.
There should
Well, listen
also
to this
be
party,
a
Sayana, because you are
Freedom
too
of
young.
Information Act.
Go there, Marlene.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Isani.
No,
Yeah.
make I interrupt you.
All right.
Because
Go ahead.
this just flashing in my mind.
Go ahead.
I want to pay respect. Your chief executive officer, Malia Mai, who was a journalist in her time, standing up to the powers that be. I think she come from Corozal. I think Amala is a Corozal girl. I
Yes.
think she in the streets of Belize City, Amala was a heroine. You know, she was not no backing down type. She would have. I mean, had they tried to attack her like that, it would have been a problem. But Amalia was in her time being singled out for scurrilous attacks, for all kind of things, for being a journalist and standing up for what she believed in. And I want to throw cold water on your parade by telling you that when the government changed in 2008, and no like political controversy on the mornings, but none other than the Prime Minister said Channel 5, they will get no interviews. None of my cabinet ministers will speak to them. They'll get nothing from my thing. In fact, let's fast forward to right now, which is also a violation of Section 16 of the Constitution. The Prime Minister and his government have singled out Plus TV. They are not going to get a single ad from the government. The government could get this here political flunky paper and all kind of, and no ads to Plus TV. That is discrimination by the government, which is not tolerated by the laws of the land. And they are conducting that right now against a fellow journalism host. So you all have work to be done on the 36th
and I'm
anniversary.
glad you brought that up because that was the point I was getting at. I think we as Belizeans are passive people. We
By
don't,
nature.
we take,
Not a range of people.
we are passive people if I'm to generalize Belizeans. The greatest, if we allow even the media to take up that very same mentality where we're passive, where the riot squad says clear out and we never see who is beaten and who is abused and who, and nobody will ever know because it'll be one account versus another, then we are not delivering to the public what they deserve. Now, our journalists obviously on the front line know that, and you pointed it out earlier, that they're taking a risk in doing so. And that's part of the nature of the job that you take on. Even here on this couch, whether being persistent in issues enough that people get upset, we need to be able to get to the truth. That's what we're trying to do. And this has not started just today. When Channel 5 was censored, it took quite a while and a lot of lobbying and moving around individually to remind people of the importance of the media, the importance of the press. And thankfully, we were able to move past that hurdle. So when you say, and I agree with you, an attack on Marisol, if we replace her from that image and put any other journalist in Belize, junior or with more experience, it is wrong.
Good point.
And I have no problem saying that. And I have no problem in saying that there needs to be a thorough investigation and that we cannot sit by, not just as media workers, but as people in this country to say that that will be tolerated.
Well said, well said. I could leave here this morning that, well, something is happening on the 36th anniversary. Let me also leave, I want to say this. Some days ago, the Supreme Court of India, this is not no light Supreme Court, 9 judges unanimously stated that that privacy, which is a constitutional right in Belize, you have your right to your privacy, you know. Listen, Marlene, I need you all to do what the lawyers are going to do, to go and find this thing on the internet. The Supreme Court, their highest court, has made an earth-shattering decision a few days ago in a case brought by a retired judge. In India, they want to bring in the biometric thing where you could put on thing and you could get your features and everywhere in the world and got your features and so on. They're going to deal with that separately, but they're saying privacy is such a core fundamental right. It includes your sexual orientation, it includes your right in your house. You can't interfere with a person's right in their house. It includes family, it's part of your fundamental right to your liberty. This is a huge decision coming from a court, which in fact is quoted and followed in other jurisdictions. In Belize, Dr. Abdullahi Conte, the former Chief Justice, referred at length to a decision at the Indian court in relation to the basic structure of Belize's constitution in a matter in which the Belize government was interfering with your right to minerals and so on. So I wanted to say that for lawyers who listen to you guys in the morning, that there is a massive decision in relation to fundamental rights and freedoms coming out of India. But I can leave this morning, because you know I'm a little on the cynical side, I can leave this morning that the journalists understand an attack on Marisol is an attack on anyone I know. If it goes and gets away like that, they're in a trouble, because they want to whop a club and do nothing where they don't leave where we don't got no way figure like this are the norm. Man could grab me and hold me for 48 hours. They think that is correct, That is absolutely wrong. That is a violation of your right to your liberty. Police not going to right to hold nobody for no 48 hours. It is when you are charging somebody and for carrying a court, the law is saying no matter what, make sure they reach court before 48 hours up. Don't tell me you're not got no vehicle and not tell me that you're there way at a village and you must get me to court within 48 hours. That's what, there is no law nowhere that police could pick you up and go just hold you down police station for 48 hours. So violations are going on 36 years after independence. And who better than journalists to sort of set the tone that what will happen. So we look out for see what we do. We always report the news, be the news now.
Well, we thank you for sitting in with us this morning. Of course, this was an educational session looking once again at the very important document, the Constitution of Belize. And as I said, it is available online. It's on the OAS website. It's on the Belize Law website. You can be able to access it, download it, and be able to learn it for yourself. Thank you, Dickie, once again. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking with the Chargé d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy to Belize about remembering 9/11. So stay tuned.